I want to do today is review my Freewrite Smart Typewriter. And you may have seen this device in one of my other videos, but it's essentially as it sounds. It's a smart typewriter. And I guess a lot of questions about it. It's a relatively low volume device. So it can be difficult to know exactly what it is and whether it would work for you. And when I was researching them, I did find it quite difficult to find good, reliable information on it. For example, a lot of people who have reviewed this machine didn't really know how to use it. Things as simple as they would boot it up and comment that, well, can I really wait 1 to 2 minutes for it to boot up when I sit down and want to write something? But of course, if you have used the machine, you know that when it's in its completely off state, there is some boot up time, but in general, you simply click the button and write. Now, I've had this machine for over 2 years now. I was very fortunate to receive it from my wife for Christmas at the end of 2022, I believe. And I've used it fairly regularly since that time. This is a special edition related to Ernest Hemingway. And the company was originally inspired by Hemingway. I believe their original Kickstarter product was called the Hemingwrite, but the Hemingway estate initially was not so happy. But I believe they since have done an official collaboration with them to create this product. It comes with the nice brown carrying case, which I often get compliments on without them even knowing what's inside. We can touch on that later. So this is a little bit more expensive than your typical standard smart typewriter that you can buy from Freewrite. And the machine itself is relatively simple, and I think that's why some people aren't good at reviewing it. But it has a few tricks up its sleeve, and I think when you purchase and use one of these, it's a philosophical choice. First, we have to look at who should buy a smart typewriter, because it is an investment. And the way that I looked at this that made me go from thinking, that would be nice, to yes, I do want to buy this, was the analogy to photography. I think we probably all know someone, if we're not that person ourselves, that got into photography as a hobby and subsequently bought a nice camera, maybe a Nikon or a Canon, several $100s, maybe even $1,000+ on a nice camera. Maybe they have aspirations to be a wedding photographer, or they booked a few shoots here and there, but it never became their full-time job. And ultimately, it is for them a hobby, something they do when they travel, capture nice pictures, maybe memories of their family. But you can justify this sort of expense in photography. We within reason, we don't bat an eyelid at someone who's not a professional photographer spending a few $100s at least on a nice camera. If writing is your hobby, if writing is your way of capturing your life, why would you not also think about investing in that? And the common response is, well, I can write on my computer. Can I not? Well, yes, but you can also take pictures on your phone. So why do you need a dedicated device for photography? And there's an interesting undercurrent, I would say, in current photography communities where there's this interest in getting back to basics. I don't want a camera which has a big screen on the back and lets me view the photo immediately after I've taken it, but if I can hide the screen and get back to that sort of film quality, like this camera, of taking the picture in the moment and then reviewing it at some later point. We see this again with the younger generation's interest in these point and shoots, these very simple cameras that take them out of their phone and in the moment. This device is essentially that, but for writing. Yes, you can write on your computer, on your laptop, your iPad, your phone even, but you're also connected to the biggest distraction engine in the world on those devices. You've got how many other tabs open on your browser right now. You've got how many notifications coming in on your phone, on your iPad, on your computer. You have all of these things going on, and so when you really want to sit down and write, it can be rather difficult. Why not just use a typewriter, you might ask? That's really a distraction-free device right there. And as a user of typewriters, as a occasional even repairer of typewriters, I love typewriters. But the difficulty, depending on the context in which you're writing, can be the digitalization of what you are writing. That can be a bit too much friction in the process. I'll often use a typewriter if I'm working on a longer story, something I don't intend to maybe publish digitally at all. But for a lot of writing, I write on Substack fairly often. I write for my quarterly journal, The Void, quarterly. And it needs to be digital. And so what's great about this is it offers almost all of the positives that you get using a typewriter, but it's digital, it's smart. And I know the irony of this channel, the analog mind, only in its third video, talking about a digital device, but this is something that you can integrate into your digital life. We all have one, but really bring you back to that analog process. And as you can see, you've got really two screens here. You've got your main screen. This is where your writing goes. I have the text on the smallest setting. You can change that. And then you have this smaller screen here, which you can scroll through a few different options. Right now, it tells me the date, the email address of the account I'm synced to, and that this particular folder over here, folder A, is syncing to Dropbox. If you click this key, you can change it to how long it would take to read what you've written, the word count and the character count. You can get a simple kind of analog style clock here. You can get merely the number of days you've been drafting in February, this month or whatever month you're in, and then the date. A timer, which is very helpful. If you say, okay, I'm going to write for 20 minutes, easy way to keep track of that. And nothing, if that's your preference. I usually keep it on the word count, so I can keep track of how long what I'm writing is. And that's really it. You have a Wi-Fi switch over here. You can switch it over to the new if you need to connect to a new Wi-Fi signal. And then you can simply turn it on or off. I usually keep it on unless I'm traveling, maybe want to save battery. Then you have three folders here, A, B, and C. And I have to say, for a digital device, this little click between the different folders is unbelievably satisfying. I do most of my writing in A, my essays and such forth, and then I have my fiction in C, and B, my lectures. But again, I don't really find the folders matter too much with the way I sync my writing. I grab it all from the post box, which is Freewrite's online website where you can access your writings. But you could, for example, have folder A sync to Dropbox, folder B sync to Google Drive. You can set that up. on the website. And then ultimately, all you do is write. And that's really the genius of this device, is there's nothing to distract you. Yes, there are some settings you can access, but they're minimal. And you don't find yourself playing around with it. You just find yourself writing. It's this wonderful mechanical keyboard. It's the same no matter if you get the Hemingway edition or the regular one. This great, listen to this. Just really nice. You get a bit of feedback in the keys. Certainly not to the level of the big thunk of a typewriter, which I do miss, but for a digital keyboard, or I suppose an electronic keyboard, it is a really, really nice feeling. It is rather loud. I do like the idea of sitting in bed and using this, but my wife does not. So that I can sign myself to writing in my journal if need be. And then you have your basic keyboard. There's multiple languages, really, I think more languages than most computers will offer you. You can write in Irish, for example, I believe 60 plus languages. Then you just have page up and down so that you can, review what you've written. Sometimes that's helpful, no matter what you're writing. And then if you hold the new key down on the right side, you've got the WASD. And if you look here, you can see there's some arrows. And then you can use that if you do need to move back and forth in your manuscript. It's not ideal, it's not as easy as a mouse, but that's part of the design. It's a feature, not a flaw, if you will. What you want to do when you're writing, and what this device is for, it's for moving forwards. It's not for editing what you've already done. You can do that later on your computer if you like. But here, it's far more easy to move forwards in your draft than to try and go back page up, or go back to the previous paragraph. I do it occasionally during drafting if I have ideas and things, and sometimes I'll move the cursor back up and I'll write a big chunk. But in general, you're trying to get words onto the e-ink page rather than anything else. And so there are some controls. You can click send, and that will simply email your draft to yourself. There is a backlight. Shift, New, and L turns on the backlight. I have that on the dimmest setting, but let's show you some of the settings here. You hold the off button for 3 or 4 seconds, it blinks. You can change the brightness here, press 3, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You just click the plus button here, and that's as bright as it goes, which is pretty bright. You wouldn't need it any brighter than this. Again, I typically use it on the lowest setting, and as often as I can, I try to just keep the light off completely. Click cancel. I'll show you again the different font sizes. So I'm on small, and it says you have 19 lines here, and again, just plus and minus. If we go to large, confirm, and then we click tab to escape. That is a much bigger font. And there's a couple reasons I don't like this. Because it's an e-ink screen, I'll turn the light off here. It needs to move much faster at this point because you're writing on new lines more often. And the e-ink screen, as good as it is, I love e-ink screens, you just notice the lag a little bit more, whereas when you're on the smallest setting, and of course your eyesight will really ultimately define this, but when you're on the smallest setting, I just find with the smaller words, it's able to keep up a lot more. So as I write, there isn't as much movement on the screen. And so you don't notice the lag really. And I've heard criticism of the lag on this screen. It's really not something you notice. Does it show up as instantly as when you click a key on your computer? No, but it's not that far behind. And frankly, when I'm writing, I'm not really looking at the screen. And if you do now, I think you'll find as you use this device, you won't be looking at the screen much either until the words are already there. Obviously, it's running on a battery right now. I find the battery lasts a good amount of time. I rarely am using it plugged in. If you hold the space bar, you can see that you've got the English language selected and the keyboard layout that's assigned, because you can literally just pick up these keycaps and replace them if you want to use AZERTY, I think is another common one, instead of QWERTY. And then you can see your battery level and that your draft is synced to Postbox, so you can access it. So, last thing I'll write here as a test is testing the sync to Postbox. And then let me grab my iPad and I'll show you how quickly it appears on there, because it really is rather quick. So, let's open this up. Go to Safari. I already have it pulled up. Refresh. You can see your word count for the month, how many drafts you've created, how many days you've been drafting, and a streak if you have one. You can go back. You can see I've got drafts all the way back to 2021, but not all here. If I click on the draft we were just looking at, testing the sync to Postbox. Lovely. And then from here, you can just copy and paste this, which is often what I do. You can actually continue writing in their Sprinter app, which is just a website that's distraction-free for writing. Or you can send to Evernote, Google, Dropbox, OneDrive, download as a PDF, as a text file, or a Word document. Whoopsie daisies. So, then I edit it on here as you might anything. See how many tabs I have open. And so I actually use the Essay website to edit my writing. I can go through that in a separate video. But that's pretty much it. I'll add some pictures here of me using the Freewrite in various locations. I find it's a wonderful tool to travel with, which is ironic because it's quite hefty, it's quite loud, it's not subtle in any way. But walking into a cafe with this nice briefcase took a bit of getting used to, I must admit, taking this out in a public place, but I just charged forth and realized that people aren't really judging you all that much as you might think they are. And more often than not, I get questions, curious questions, people impressed by it, rather than people asking me to be quiet. The case, again, lovely, comes with these nice felt-lined leather straps, so you can pop the device in here and know it's good and safe. And then it has a small pocket here. This is where I keep, this is the nice kind of certificate, not a certificate, but something nice that comes with the Hemingway edition. I've got an old letter, the official cleaning cloth, which I could do to use a bit more often. You might be able to see if you've got the quality turned up. So it's a nice cloth you can use to clean your machine. But something I like about this kind of raw aluminium is that it does get a bit patinaed. Something that really appeals to me, because so few of our electronics these days do gather patina. If you look at the, well, let's take this. This is just a type of smartphone. And this isn't going to patina, it's just going to get scratched and ruined. Whereas, something like a nice notebook gets a nice patina on it as you use it. And that's a sign of time taking its toll. And so it's nice for something to be designed to last for a very long time and to kind of show the wear of time on it. Even this briefcase got a bit of a kind of a puncture here. It's a very nice soft exterior. It's got the Freewrite embossed, and I got this little mark on it quite early on, unfortunately, but it kind of adds to the charm. These kind of gold plated, not real gold, of course, they're wearing a little bit, but again, I personally don't particularly mind. I think that's part of the charm here. So I think that about covers it. I will note the other thing I do often if I'm traveling is I have this felt sleeve as well that it just fits in. I got this for free somehow, well after I got the case, but especially if I'm traveling abroad, I'll slip it in here. It goes in my backpack with all of my other things, and then I've used it on the plane, I've used it at the beach, in the desert. Really, wherever I go, I typically take it with me. And so if you are into writing, if you're looking for that distraction-free environment, it's a wonderful machine. I will say they make a few other models. This is really the top tier. Higher up the totem pole, they have a traveling version, which is like a clamshell. It opens up, and they've got some really nice looking, very simple, they're least expensive. It's called Alpha, and it's really just a very slim mechanical keyboard, and then a little screen at the top for you to see what you're currently writing. I think those are great machines too, much more portable. But would I recommend it? Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. If you're a writer, if you intend to write, if writing is one of your goals, if you want to write throughout your life, you need a dedicated writing machine. Yes, you can hand write, and that's certainly a good goal, a valid goal, to simply hand write. But for those of us who are used to typing, I think having a dedicated typing machine that can still work with your digital process is certainly wonderful. I've written hundreds of thousands of words on that machine that I don't think I would have written otherwise. To be able to put all my devices away, clear the desk, and just have my writing machine and all of my other bits and bobs that aren't distracting me necessarily is really something. So if you have any questions about this device, please do leave them in the comments. If you have any experience yourself, please let me know. But that is the Freewrite Smart Traveler Ernest Hemingway Signature Edition, mouthful. And it is probably one of the favorite things that I own. So, thank you for watching. See you in the next one.